Today, on the Bob Dodd Show, I have in studio a good friend of mine. His name, Richard Faircloth, a family man who is a commercial aviator who holds a strong passion for his career in navigating the skies around the globe. Having a busy schedule flying cargo jets and wearing many other hats, being a husband and father is his first priority. Welcome, everybody, my good friend, Richard. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for stopping by the Bob Dodd Show. I have a good friend of mine, Richard Faircloth. He's a professional airline pilot, professional friend, and very smart dude. And I'm glad that he's stopping by, hanging out.
Yeah, man.
I had to beg you. I said, dude, just come by, please. You're like, I think I have time. I think so. But yeah, so I would like to introduce you more as an airline pilot because number one, you're super smart.
Okay.
And you do a lot of interesting things. You're an entrepreneur. You're a businessman.
Yeah.
You're a landowner. You have really cool cars.
Yeah.
You also are the custodian of an airliner that carries heavy boxes.
Yeah.
You used to fly people, but now you're flying boxes.
Correct.
Dude, you're a master craftsman at navigating the clouds. To me, that's interesting as all can be.
Sometimes we go through them. We just count through them.
Yeah. See, you have to excuse me too, because I have to auto switch, or I have to switch this myself. The auto switching function is getting the best of me, and I don't know why it's not working.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. So, tell us a little about yourself, man. I think that besides being one of my closest friends here in Georgia, and I didn't have a hard time getting him on, guys. I just said, hey, you want to stop by? And he's like, yeah, she told me I want to come over.
I actually came over to hang out.
Yeah,
early.
But dude, one of the coolest things that anybody can do on this world is fly planes. And dude, you get a chance to do it.
Yeah, it's rewarding.
How did that start for you?
It was whenever I was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
There was an air show down in Columbus. Young. I always loved aviation. I loved airplanes. I loved the magic that was created around aviation, right? So I went to the air show, and the Young Eagles actually had a booth there. I went with a good friend of mine in high school that time. And I stopped by, and it was through the EAA. And I asked them, I was like, hey, what's going on here? A little 12-year-old walking up to them, and they were like, well, this is the EAA, the Young Eagles program, or, nonprofit organization that they get young kids interested in aviation. So I was like, okay, what do you do?
You're just at this airfield, and they're like, hey, do you want to come look at this plane? In your mind, you're like, heck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They said, yeah, put your name on this paper. Somebody's going to reach out to your parents, obviously. And whenever they reached out to my mom, she was like, hey, who I forget his name, but who's Billy Bob from Columbus Airport? And I was like, oh, is he with the, Young Eagles Association? And she was like, yeah, he said he was. And so she put me on the phone with him and stuff. And next thing you know, he was like, hey, come down and you can have a free ride.
They call that the Discovery flight,
the Discovery flight. Yeah.
Dude, the Discovery flight. I want to take a Discovery flight.
Yeah. Hey, the EAA does it a lot, just not, I guess the Young Eagles program, I forget what it's, I forget what the ages are or whatnot, but apparently I was of age.
Yeah. Right. How is for instance, so my son, Ethan, is interested a little bit in flight. He's just interested in too much right now. But I told him, I said, hey, whenever you're seriously ready to do it, we'll make it happen for you what's the youngest age that someone can actually get behind a yoke or the controls of a small personal aircraft.
Yeah. Sawyer's been behind one,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Whenever we went to Hawaii, we went flying
Mm-hmm.
on vacation. There is no age. I mean, if you bought an airplane or somebody bought an airplane tomorrow, you're definitely going to have your son in the right or the left seat, depending on your certificates and what seat you occupy. But no, there is no age at all. I mean, obviously you want them to be able to see over the instrument panel,
Yeah.
but I mean, whenever I went flying down in Columbus with the EAA, Billy Bob per se, yeah, he put wooden 4x4s on my feet
Oh wow.
so I could reach the pedals.
Wow.
I mean, that's
Dude, talk about getting bit by the flight bug right there.
Yeah.
Like,
And so we went flying around Columbus, and one thing led to another, and it became a point of where if I wanted to go flying, he was more than open just to have somebody go with him.
yeah. What was it like? Did you have to do any convincing to your mom? Like, this is like,
I don't think they knew it was going on.
oh wow. So they were just like,
I don't think they
Billy
knew.
Bob's gonna take our boy and look at an airplane. He said he'll bring him back in an hour. I gotta go shopping anyway. Let's just...
Yeah, there was one time I went down to Columbus with my mom. Now, mind you, where we lived in reference to Columbus, it wasn't a quick drive. It wasn't a quick drive. So whenever she would go, or say we'd have to go to Columbus, it would be hours. I mean, we would make like maybe 1 or 2 trips a month.
Oh wow.
And yeah, at that time, I think my dad was gone because he's a truck driver. And then my brother stayed with my grandparents. And then, so I went with her to Columbus, and I said, hey, I asked her, I was like, hey, can you, drop me off at the FBO there in Columbus? She was like, oh, okay. I said, I'm just going to hang out. They said that they would help, or they would watch me or whatnot while she went and did her shopping.
Yeah.
But she thought I was hanging around the FBO and, I don't know, cleaning toilets or filling up airplanes. But Billy Bob over here was taking me flying while she went shopping. And, I'm not going to ruin a good time. So I kind of kept that on the down low because I knew as soon as I told her I was going flying, then she would have smashed it.
Was there ever a time when you were like, Billy Bob, I'm really digging my time here. This is great. When do we do backflips? when do we do barrel rolls?
Yeah, when do we do? I'm sure I asked him. But no, for the most part, we just went flying around Columbus, and I'd help him. I'd flip frequencies, and then he would give me the yoke, and then he would, he showed me, how to get the weather, and would do a touch and go and stuff. But it was more. My dad went along with me once, but I don't think they knew that I went probably 4 or 5 more times after that.
Yeah,
and then he was like, he wanted to know if I wanted to continue like training. Well, that costs money. The Young Eagles doesn't cost money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's free.
Oh,
so you get one Discovery flight for free.
Yeah.
But because he liked me and I was young, and he was an older guy.
Yeah.
If I can remember, he was probably in his 50s, 60s.
Dude, he's probably just wishing he had a grandkid.
Probably. Yeah, probably. And so I would show up, or, I'd show up at the FBO. Sometimes he would be there, sometimes he wouldn't. But for the most part, he was always there too, because he was retired. And
all that equipment takes a lot of maintenance and oversight, so
yeah,
you're not going to just have a plane and like not look at it one day.
Right.
You have to look at it every day.
Yeah. You have to take care of it. And it's like anything, if you don't exercise it, then it's going to, it's going to cost you more in maintenance than anything. So I went flying with him, and I never looked back. Oh, well, I never looked back until I got of age. When he started talking about money, I was like, man, I ain't got no money. It's like, dude, I'm 12 years old, you know? It's like, I'll save up, you know, I don't know, whatever, my birthday money or whatnot.
Come on, though, for real, though, like no matter, like it didn't matter how much it was going to cost. Like at this
No.
point, you were already focused on sitting there thinking, like, how can I make this work
Oh, yeah.
as a
yeah,
young
yeah.
kid? So
Oh, yeah.
I think at that point, you weren't getting stopped at all. Like, so you were going to make it work, whatever you had to go clean toilets at the FBO for real for a
Yep.
full-time job. Yeah.
Yeah. It was going to happen.
Yeah.
Whenever we're all young and, you know, we'd stop by the Blockbuster and we'd get
Blockbuster.
Oh yeah, Blockbuster, man. We'd stop by the old Blockbuster and my brother would get a game and I'd get a game, but I would always get the flying ones. You know? So it was in my veins. Man, it's just born with it, I guess.
That's cool. So you got your private pilot's license at like what age? Were you like 16 or 15?
I actually got my private at 19.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of a late bloomer in high school.
Is that late? I mean, to me, that it sounds like that's like from my research, that's kind of average. It's not like it's more of an anomaly for someone younger to get it. Like,
yeah. You can solo at 16.
mhm.
You can solo at 16, but I think you can get your private now. Mind you, I haven't looked at the regs in quite some time. I think you can get your private in 17, 18 years old.
Okay.
You know, something like might even. I think that's correct. And if by all means, again, I haven't looked at the regs, so it might have changed to 16. It might have changed to 21. Like,
Yeah, it
I haven't
matter.
done private training in probably 20 years.
Yeah, man. But still, now you're like, you flew. What was your first commercial job that you did that you was like real? It's real responsible. Like, not like, because did you have to teach somebody to get your hours up before you went somewhere? Did you have to become an instructor?
So 2009. So I went to flight training, or I went to college. I went one semester of college.
I forgot to say that.
Yeah.
Richard's smart, guys.
Oh, yeah. So I dropped out of college and went flying.
Like I said, he's smart, yo. He is smart.
So I went one semester of college, and I was like, man, it just felt like I was paying, not necessarily for an education, but I was paying for friends because,
Yeah.
you know, they were going, and I was uncertain about what I knew what I wanted to do in life, but that wasn't. I followed my brother because, you know, he went to college, so
Mhm.
he's a role model. I'm going to go to college.
Yeah.
But then whenever I didn't see myself moving on in the career that I wanted, and then I dropped out, and then I used to have a friend here in Noonan. Her dad was a Southwest captain, and he was like, yeah, why don't you try, you know, flying? I'm like, well, I'm there. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to do that. So he was actually a good ambassador for me to say,
that's
okay,
good.
all right, ATP flight, you know, all ATPs is where he was like, there's a place up in Lawrenceville, there's a place at PDK, there's a place in Fulton County. And he was like, go try them out. Go talk to them, you know?
Yeah, I think that's important. I think like you know, if you need someone who champions you a little bit to
Yeah.
like nudge you in a big decision like that. Because like as a young adult, I mean, sitting there saying I'm doing this college thing, and you know it's not what you want to do.
Yep.
I didn't have that I knew I wasn't good at school and college, so I was like, I'm gonna go roof with my dad for a while. Then I'm
Yeah.
gonna try this and I'm gonna try that. So to know that you wanted to do something and you actually saw the avenue and you went and grabbed it,
Yeah.
man, that's so cool.
Well, I will also say too, you know, during high school, I had two options. One option, or one avenue in life I could kind of foresee myself going. My granddad actually owned a developing company where he would buy a piece of land. He'd come in, he'd clear it off, and he would install the storm drain sewage lines, plot it off, sell the plots, and then
Mm.
that's around the same time that's around the same time that you know, you go to a subdivision and you're like, hey, here's a custom home. You could
Yeah.
build these custom homes on these empty lots.
Yeah.
Well, that was during that kind of the spark of that era.
Okay.
And then him and Nally, which was his real estate agent, that kind of helped with that process. So
There was a little bit of,
there was a little bit of, I mean, I was 14, 15 years old in the trenches laying sewage lines.
yeah.
I
Is that
mean,
the Pap I
was,
met?
huh?
Did I meet?
Yeah, Papa Leroy.
Dude,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
an awesome dude.
Yeah, man, he he remembers laying the very first manhole for the DeKalb County pipeline up
Wow.
in North Atlanta. So it was a few summers of the just a hot beating sun, no shade. Some days 15 years old,
Yeah.
I would be slathering mud on my arms because
Don't compare.
I didn't have I was, 15 years old.
Yeah.
Who cares about sunscreen at 15?
Yeah.
So it was that direction, which it was rewarding as well. It was nostalgic, picking up where my granddad left off, or flying airplanes. And it was one time I was the straw that broke the camel's back. We were installing fire hydrants on 85 down in South Georgia, and I was sitting in the truck with him, and I was 18 at the time. No, 19 at the time. And I looked at him and I was like, I mean, it was a hard conversation because I'm like, I'm
Is this where you
the
keep it
grandkid,
real?
like this is where like I was going to take over the family business.
Oh, wow.
That was, because working every summer as long as I could remember, there were days where it was like, no, you're too young. You can't come to the job site with me because it's too dusty and windy.
Yeah.
And he was like, I cannot keep up with you. You have to. So he wanted me to get a little bit more age.
Yeah.
But from 12, 13 years old to 18, I would live in Atlanta with them.
Yeah. That's a full apprenticeship too.
That 5 days a week,
Yeah.
through the summer. That's what I did with him, $5 an hour. So
Wow.
I didn't get the grants.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. No, that's great.
it was some hard stuff, but
Well, he's a real man. When I met him, you just look in his eyes and you're like, yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, exactly. He so we sat in the truck one day and it had to be 110. And I was like, I said, Pop, dude, I can't do this no more. I said, I'm going to go flying airplanes. And he looked at me and he was like, well, he was like, I can't tell you what to do, but if that's what you want to do, it better be for real, And so we had that kind of the hard conversation. Thank goodness we did though, because I mean, ever since then I hadn't looked back,
Yeah. Well, he doesn't seem like he's going to be the type of man that, he sees you as a 19-year-old man and he sees your like aspirations, whether if he thinks it's right or wrong,
Right.
he's going to let you make that decision.
Yeah.
That's like a real man's man. It's like you're allowing your child or you're like, he's your grandfather, but like, it's still your child.
Right.
I mean, like your child to make a decision.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So it was
the cojones on a man, like
Yeah.
that strong willed is awesome.
Yeah. So, we, 19 years old. So I went to all ATPs. Spent a year and a half up there. I got my CFI, so certified flight instructor,
Mm-hmm.
and then and to become an instructor to fly instruments and to instruct instruments, and then multi-engine instructor, which is your MEI. That's like that's the most versatile certificates you can have to actually go and do flight instructing professionally.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be my first like professional job
Flight instructor.
as a flight instructor, because that was also when the 08, 09, the stock market crash happened.
Yeah.
And
That had to be a rough time.
That's the first thing that went was everybody's airplanes.
Yeah.
There was nobody hiring anywhere.
I had a friend who was an airplane mechanic, and around that time, around the 2008 time, he was laid off because of just like the downsize of everything.
Yep, the layoffs, the furloughs. Nobody could even get loans at that point, because that's what it was. That was a contributing factor of the crash, was the loaning out money. Nobody could get money for instructing.
They pulled that string. They were like, we're going to tighten this bag up here.
Yeah. So then, so that was in October of 09, and October, November, we had a job board on the internet, and I applied all up and down the East Coast seaboard. I mean, from New York to Florida to anywhere and everywhere I could interview with. Like, I needed a job. And then Maui Aviators out in Maui, Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
They were the ones who called me back. They're the only ones. I probably submitted 100 applications. They're the only ones that called me back.
Did you have any idea how expensive it was going to be to live there?
Nope.
You were just like, I don't care.
I had a duffel bag and a guitar. Man, it's kind of a funny story whenever I got there, though.
Tell us it. Dude, like, we're hanging out. What's the story?
So whenever I got the phone call, did the over the phone interview with this place. I've been to Oahu once. I'm a Southern boy from Georgia. Yeah. And I'm going to Hawaii. It was just nobody. My family was like, what are you doing? Are you sure it's going to happen? Are you sure they got a job for you? You're going to fly all the way out there. I actually had to come to realization. I said, what is the absolute worst thing that could happen? Get on an airplane and fly right back. Bam. That's honestly the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
So hit the ground running in Maui. And I'd been talking to another flight instructor there. I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't have an automobile. I didn't have anything. I seriously had a guitar, acoustic, and a duffel bag from Army surplus store that had all my belongings, and that was it.
That's the opening of your movie, landing on some kind of airplane in Maui. And you got your backpack and your guitar, your bag, your duffel bag, and your guitar, walking down a lonesome road.
I had way too many blue jeans.
Well, you only need 10 blue jeans to be successful.
Way too many blue jeans. Way too many long sleeve shirts.
Oh my gosh.
So the other flight instructor, up until this point, we had been communicating back and forth about, you can come and, hang out with me for a few weeks, get your feet underneath you. And then find you a place and then, start doing your thing. I was like, great. Awesome. What an amazing experience, opportunity.
Yeah.
Very thankful for him, even still to this day. So I showed up on Maui. It had to be probably 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Flying all day, tired, exhausted. I had my duffel bag and stuff, put it in the trunk. And then, he looks at me, he was like, dude, we don't have no room for you. Like, while I'm there.
Yeah.
And, I was like, okay. Well, where am I going? I was just like, dude, I just need a place to sleep, crash, couch, floor, anything. I'm exhausted. And he said, no, don't worry about it. We talked to a guy that owned an airplane on the airfield. That's a friend of the company. Yeah. And then he was like, he's got a place for you to stay. Or, a place to hang out for a few days. I said, okay, cool. What's his name? And so he was like, Craig Haley, man, I can still remember this guy like it was yesterday.
Sounds like a cool dude.
He was from old Southern California. He had moved out there. He was probably in his late 60s, early 70s. Still did a contracting stuff, but we pull up. So, we pull up to his house, and it's like, it's got all, I mean, it's waterfront. I mean, it is beautiful. Absolutely. I'm like, dude, this is a score, This man comes out on his lanai holding a Heineken in his Speedos. And he's like, hey, man, I'm Craig. Yelling at me. You're going to hang out with me for a few days. Yelling at me from the lanai.
Oh, my gosh.
And I look over at Joe. And I'm like, dude, okay, again, Georgia, you don't do that. You know what I mean? Just
different etiquette.
Total different atmosphere, ethnic.
I'd be like, I'm coming over, George. I'll be there in a second.
He was like, yeah, you're going to be staying here for a little bit. So anyway, yeah, he was, and his go-to was 2 shots of tequila and a Heineken.
Oh, wow.
He probably had 3 shots that night.
Wow.
And anyway,
it sounds like a successful guy. He's like, did what he needed to do, and he's just living his life the way he wanted it.
He did some contracting jobs on the side. So, no, he was an awesome guy. So I walk up to the house, he put some shorts on. So I'm like, well, we didn't have to go over that conversation, Anyway, so he takes me back past the kitchen, and he's like, here you go. Here's your room. He was like, I got an air mattress set up for you. I'm like, okay, cool. It's like those wicker fold up doors.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like a pantry.
Yeah.
It was the small size twin air mattress.
Yeah.
And then just enough space for my duffel bag, and it was wall to wall.
That's awesome.
I mean,
dude, that's awesome.
It was a closet.
My gosh.
It was a closet.
Dude, that was like a first bite of reality for you. Like, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. So he was like, it's not much. You're more than welcome to the house while I'm not here. So I'm like, okay. So during the day, I had full reign of the house, whatever. I mostly worked because I'm trying to get my feet underneath me. So I worked, and I would come home, and I'd showed Christy's my wife, by the way, very beautiful lady. Love her to death. One time while we lived there, that's where we met in Hawaii. And I introduced her to Craig. And I showed her my room, and she was like, you lived where? I'm like, 3 months. 3 months I lived in that closet until I could find a house.
Oh, yeah.
That I could start renting. That was in my budget.
Man.
Because do
you remember what the rent was?
So the
and this is 2010, 2009?
This was 2009. Yeah. 2009, December 7th, 2009.
Nice.
So he charged me $600 a month for a closet.
Sure.
And then I found a place. Christy calls it the only cabin on the island, but it was a 1-bedroom, 1 bath, like little ohana. It's a home detached from the home.
Yeah.
And I think it was like maybe $850 a month, something like that. So it was doable, but it was a 1-bedroom, 1 bath, kitchen, living room, join. It was what I needed.
Yeah,
and I could afford.
It actually sounds nice. I mean, you're in Hawaii for $850 a month.
The simplicity behind it was the biggest thing too is in Hawaii, you don't I don't know. The vibe is you don't stay inside. You do everything outside. You cook outside. You play outside, or you hang out outside. You go to the beach. The worst thing, go to the beach, or you go hiking. You go see waterfalls.
Yeah.
If you're big into scuba diving, man, after working all day long, flying around the island, instructing around the islands. Some of the days that I would, pull long hours, um, I'd go jump in the ocean, and it's like I never worked an hour that day,
Man.
So it was very relaxing.
Yeah, they have like some healing properties with their mojo on the island. I hear like the island is, I mean, every piece of Earth has its negative,
Yeah.
but yeah, a lot of people talk about how just going to Maui
Yep.
is
Yep. And it
healing.
was it was kind of the old school. I would always describe Maui as being Oahu's got its place, Big Island's got its place. Molokai got its, well, they have their vibes, I always say go to Oahu at least once, just because of Pearl Harbor and stuff like
Yeah.
that is really cool. It was a Dole plantation. Um, Big Island and like Kauai
Hmm.
are probably 50 years behind time, but then Hawaii, Maui is like maybe 15, 20 years behind. So it's like, it's slow, but they've got a lot of cool stuff to do,
Yeah.
around the island. If you want to like sit back, relax, um, you know, uh, not do much, but go surf and hang out in the wilderness, then it's definitely very kickback,
Yeah.
laid back. The movie, 50 First Dates,
Hmm.
that whole scene
Yeah.
of like, how the buildings are and that vibe. Yeah, that was the Big Island in Kauai.
That's awesome.
So it's definitely a cool
Man.
experience.
So you meet
So
Christy, you're living in a one room, basically hut,
yeah,
which is an awesome
bungalow.
thing. Yeah,
pretty much.
because you were living in a closet before, and you're flying there. What was your next step, man? Like you're like, I'm doing this airline thing, and I'm climbing this airline ladder.
Right.
Did you? Because she's from California, correct?
Correct. Bay Area.
Bay. Okay. Did you guys step back to California at all first before you
We
came
did,
back to Georgia?
actually. Yeah, we did. We went to so because I was flying around the islands, it was VFR. You couldn't fly in the clouds, you couldn't do instrument stuff.
Hmm.
So I said, well, if I'm going to make my next step to the airlines, then I need to get a lot more instrument time, like flying instruments. And so then we went to California, and then that's where we were in California for 3 or 4 years. Went to a 141 flight school, which is, it's almost like a collegiate style.
Hmm.
A lot of people. I mean, we had 250 students. Big. It's not
big outfit.
Yeah, big outfit. Not your fly clubs or anything like that. So then I loved my job there. Worked my way up. I was a assistant chief pilot and chief pilot there at Sierra Academy of Aeronautics, and started flying instruments. Then I did my aerobatic stuff out there. That's where I got my backflips in.
Nice.
And then King Air stuff, which is turboprop, jet engine.
Oh wow.
Turboprop. There's like, I don't know, prop and a jet engine together. So then, yeah, we were there. She actually started her teaching credential, and so she had one more year left to do her credential. I said, well, go ahead and knock it out. Once she got her credential knocked out, then I actually left. I left ahead of time because I had training for PSA Airlines, subsidiary of American. And so I went to training. She finished her credential, man, and she was 9 months pregnant.
Wow.
To drive across the country. We seriously thought Sawyer was going to be born somewhere around Amarillo.
Wow. Dude, our ladies are powerful. We have some good ladies, you and I, and they are willing to shake and move
Yeah.
for us and do whatever we want. She was driving after she did her school, she was like, "I'm gonna drive to Georgia. Might
We
have
went
a
to
kid in
Knoxville, but yeah,
oh, Knoxville.
yeah, we went to Knoxville for a year.
Drive to Knoxville, pregnant, might have a kid in Amarillo, Texas.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, 4.5 days on the road.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, I can't even imagine how uncomfortable it was sitting that long. I mean,
Pregnant? Yeah.
yeah,
Man.
pregnant with 2 cats and
You had, oh, my
we had the
God.
cats. Yeah, we had 2 cats at the time.
Man.
So, my grandmother was with us, and then Dylan, my cousin, helped drive. So we had a huge Penske truck. Had the Mustang on the back of the Penske truck, and then
There wasn't 3 people deep in that Penske truck with.
there wasn't. We had the Tacoma.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we had the Tacoma loaded
The tried
up.
and true
oh, man,
Tacoma.
Yeah, yeah. So we drove across the country.
Yeah.
For that.
Don't ever sell that thing. Get that thing to 1 million miles.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we moved to Knoxville, and that was my like real first 121 airline was PSA Airlines.
And that was PSA Airlines.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, like, once you were there and you were getting your basically your hours in for all the jets that you were flying, for that particular company, what was the biggest airline jet that you flew?
It was a CRJ 900, which is a 72 passenger.
Is that a propeller? 2 propellers on each side?
2 jets.
2 jets?
Yep,
Okay.
Yep. Jet turbofans.
Turbofans?
Yeah, they're jet engines. The one in the they're all the way on the tail, and they're a lot, they're not they're not the ones underneath the wings, but they're ones on the back.
The back, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
man,
that's where so we were flying the CRJ 200s, the 700s, and then the 900s, and then
at this point in your career, has the fact of like being a private jet pilot for folks ever come up?
It has, but then I kind of the reason why I went to PSA is because it was an East Coast carrier.
Okay,
you know their headquarters is Dayton, Ohio.
Okay,
but their bases where I actually operated day to day was Charlotte, Philly, DC. Things of that nature, Indianapolis. So I was Charlotte based. So it was a really easy commute. By that time I'd moved, we lived in Knoxville for a year, and then my grandparents aren't getting, they're getting older. So then we were driving back and forth from Knoxville to Atlanta like twice a month.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I can't.
3.5 hour, 4 hour drive every day, right?
Yeah. 4-hour drive one way. And so I love the Noonan area. And so we started looking, our rent was coming up in Knoxville. So then I moved back to Georgia, closer to home, and then commuted from Atlanta to Charlotte to start work, and then commuting back and forth. So I did that for 7 years, first officer, captain, and then line check airman, where I would instruct like new guys coming up. They would come right out of the schoolhouse, and then I would train them. They would, like when I got them, they were like, that was the very first time that they had ever touched a jet.
Wow.
So having to train them up, it was rewarding, very rewarding. Did that for about 3 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could see you're good at it because I see you with your boy, when you're teaching him, and your daughter. So it's like, when you're like teaching the dirt bike stuff and like, getting him on, like I noticed, I was like, wow, he's real cool and calm. Like I yell at Ethan. I'm like, come on, dude, you're doing it wrong. But you're like way more instructive.
Right. I guess it's, well, man, how many, I still have my CFI. I still instruct to this day. I've got 2 instrument students now, out at Coweta County Field. And I just love instructing. It's very rewarding. In Hawaii, that was one of my biggest, what I love the most is watching students that has never flown, never touched an airplane, never even could fathom walking around one, much less grabbing a hold of, the yoke and taking off and stuff. But the celebration of them walking across the grass, going all the way up till soloing their own airplane,
Yeah.
Jessie Merriman was my youngest. She was 16 years old, and it was October 31st. I mean,
Wow.
it's still like,
Yeah.
what? I mean, how many years? It was 2000 and that was 2010.
Yeah.
So,
She's
I
probably
mean,
out there
15.
still flying right
Oh
now.
yeah, she's probably got her certificates. I didn't finish. I didn't get her all the way, to where she could get an airline
Yeah.
gig. But yeah, she got her driver's license that morning, and then she soloed that afternoon.
That's
I just like, dude, that's
2 major milestones
yeah,
in one day.
in one day on Halloween.
Mm.
I was like, man, this is like the most rememberable moment, and just seeing the glow that, knowing that they can accomplish aviation,
Yeah.
it really makes you feel, it makes you, to me, it's like, man, I wonder what, the Wright brothers, what they were going through whenever they flew the first time at Kitty Hawk ever.
Yeah, and
Like, I mean,
inventing, or not, I shouldn't say inventing, because like they invented an airplane,
Mhm.
but they didn't. They found they found the answers.
They found the
Formula, I guess.
perfect formula, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And just him laying down on the on the Wright Flyer, and then sending it down a rail, and then flying around for a little bit, like
Yeah.
that love and that joy is still alive.
Yeah.
It might not be in the the Wright Flyer,
Yeah.
but it's still a 172, and you're getting your feet off the ground.
I feel like if you ask 100 people, what is like one thing that you would like to be able to do?
Yeah.
I guarantee you the majority of the people will say flying.
Right.
And like some crazy person will be like, I'd like to be invisible. But yeah, it's like, no, man, I want to fly with the birds, man.
Yeah.
know?
I mean, there's some wild things that people try to do to just get off the ground,
Yeah.
Cartoons are made from, helium balloons and a house flying. I mean, the concept of, disconnecting yourself and overcoming physics
Man.
is and creating magic. I mean, it really is how all of that goes into play.
Dude, I feel like the fact that I remember my first ever thought of like wanting to be a pilot.
Mhm.
I was working for a refueling company at Pittsburgh International Airport. I was working for oh my gosh, I forget what it's called, but anyway, the SCI, no, oh my gosh, aircraft refueling something, and then there was a company called FBO, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, I really want to work for FBO. They get paid more money than us and everything else. And
Yeah.
and the one guy, he was like, if you really want to make the money, you want to fly these planes, not fill them. I was like, oh dude. And then I looked into it.
That.
Yeah. Because so I look into it, and like being the background that I had, I always thought that it's just because I didn't have the money, it was never possible. I never thought about trying to be inventive or taking out a loan.
Yeah.
In my head, if you didn't have the money, you just don't have the money.
Right.
Like credit and everything else that didn't exist back.
Right.
But I remember I was 18 years old, refueling U.S. airline planes and stuff like that, and sitting there thinking to myself, like, it'd be really cool to do that. And I had this hurdle in front, or this wall. It wasn't even a hurdle; it was a wall. Like, I'll never be able to do that because I don't have the money. But I wish that I had someone who was like, "You're an idiot, dude. You get a loan from a bank."
There's plenty of plenty of aviators out there that are still paying student loans.
Yeah, I can imagine, dude.
Plenty of them.
We had a conversation. Gosh, I feel like 2 weeks ago or whatever, and you said something to me about like not a misnomer, but it's kind of like misleading that a lot of people think that they need to like go to the military to fly planes. And
right.
I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, I didn't know that, but I did ask somebody after that conversation, and they had that opinion, like, you got to go to military. It's like, no, you don't.
No, you don't. No,
you don't have
not
to
at
do
all.
military.
Now, I mean, now you're going to accrue a boatload of debt.
Yeah,
but at least you're not going to get bullets slung at you, which, I mean, by all means, the military is a I love our military. I mean,
Yeah.
they're the ones who protect the homestead, and you know, they're the ones that, you know, put their lives on the line, and the stuff that the military guys go through, I can't even fathom.
Yeah.
You know, they do what they do so that we can have a peace of mind at night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I have a couple family members and some friends that went through the military. Well, and a lot of guys that I fly with now
Hmm.
at FedEx are, you know, military aviators.
Yeah.
And man, it's just it's 4th of July definitely is a, you know, I can't describe it, but I have a lot of love for the military.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're
they,
pretty patriotic to begin with.
yeah,
I mean, just like from the short amount of time. I met you in 2017, something like that.
yeah, 16, it's a 17, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one of the things that I knew that I would get along with you real well is just the fact that like you're patriotic, you're not judging, and like you're just like kind of like uh you get what you get. When I look at you, this is what I get.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
This is me.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it's the best way to be, in my opinion. You
yeah,
know?
some people would say like you're real. You keep it real.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember all like some of our deep conversations because we had a small group together. We met through our church and our
Yep.
small group.
Yep.
And
Southside.
yeah, so shout out to Southside Church, man. That's great people. Noonan, their campuses all over.
Yeah.
Tune in on YouTube. They have
Yeah.
yeah,
Andy Stanley's awesome.
yeah. And so I met you through the small group. And with the small group, you never know. Like that first starters, that was my first small group. So you never know how like that's going to work out,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And to meet somebody that, you know, it's like, here, this is your dude that you're going to be hanging out with for the next year or two or whatever. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I hope I like the guy. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I hope I like his wife, his kids, and you know, things seemed to be just like, man, as smooth as a good plane landing,
Yeah.
you know, like, and everybody hit it off. So like, I knew that I was going to like you, I think from the get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I really appreciated you're just like, hey, this is who I am. And your wife's the same way.
Same way.
This is what you get.
Yeah.
Your kids are the same way. This is what you
Yeah.
get. And I feel like, when you meet people, if you don't have that
Yeah.
right from the beginning,
Yeah.
you know, there's too much navigating. Like, where is this person at? How do I navigate to get to know this person better?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
what are they holding back? Because I'm giving all. You
Yeah.
know, I want another person to give it all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I'm pretty much you know, I might be a screwdriver. If you need a hammer, it's like, man, I'm not the hammer. I'm like the there's special tools out there. If you need a different one, then,
yeah,
you know,
you're my precision tool, man. You and many of my friends. It's funny. Like I do keep. I have friends here in Georgia that I would say they're all precision tools.
yeah.
You know, and you know, it's like I've been very blessed to have the network that I have. I have so many awesome friends. Like for folks who are just listening to this show, this whole Bob Dodd show came about because my wife and I we're starting a business to help people do podcasts.
Yeah.
So I am in the film and TV industry by trade, and my my past 18, 19 years have been the film industry, and it is a wild roller coaster. And this roller coaster, unfortunately, is down for service right now, and not many people are riding.
Uh-oh.
So, you know, so like we rely on a couple other things to bring income in the house, and one of them is an operator engineer job that I go just operate heavy equipment,
Okay.
or we do something else, like I'll do a side gig somewhere, help somebody out.
Right.
So one of the things that I wanted to do was like, I have so many interesting friends and they all talk about wanting podcasts. And I'm like, well, you know, if I could just get my friends this podcast that they want,
Right.
you know, why not do it? So we
Right.
started looking into how podcasting works. And, you know, there's not a lot to it other than just to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you gotta, like, if you're going to be your own production company, you gotta spend the money. If you're going to do it, you got to get the right cameras, you got to get the right gear for what your needs are at the moment.
Yeah.
You can't, think about the future. Cause like, if you think about the future and you're like, I need this camera, I need this piece of equipment, you're 150 grand in debt before you even start. So, like, we're going to hit up all of our friends and, the folks that have interest in actually running and having their own YouTube channel or their own podcast. And we're going to try to help produce them. As you can see here, we have bought the equipment to do this. And I think that once I get my skills up, we will then open up the production company. And the production company is called Pinbox Productions.
Okay.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna have it go live whenever we feel it's ready to, like, actually give somebody something that we would want.
Yeah.
So we're close. I think that with the particular equipment, there's like some education that's happening with Angela and I. So in the future, once we get our T's crossed and our I's dotted and everything, we'll be able to help folks do their own.
That's awesome, man.
Podcast.
That's the thing. If Billy Bob down in Columbus, Georgia, didn't want me, if he didn't want me to go flying with him, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't be flying today, but he was a big ambassador.
Yeah.
He was the one he's the one that I had the bug, but he was really the ultimate reason of the avenue.
Yeah.
And then it's like who you run into in life, it's not an accident.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a purpose in everybody that you meet. From older gentlemen down at airports to, Southwest captains.
Yeah.
That kind of guide you on what you want. The biggest thing is you got to make a decision on, all right, are you in it or are you in it to win it? When I set course on that's what I wanted to be, even the hardest conversations that you have with one of the largest influencers in my life is my granddad.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that did to him. I mean, he could have shattered his dreams of a grandson not taking on what he has worked his entire life for. But then you got to take a step back and not be selfish about it. But I would rather go to a job that I love to do every single day than just do it because my granddad did. And I think he respects that too.
Yeah, he does. And it's another thing that I didn't think about until just this second was like, that man, your grandfather, was not building a company for him.
No.
He was building a company that would be sustainable for his entire family.
Correct.
And to think about maybe his feelings on you not coming through with that, I didn't think about that until right now. So it's cool that you have the wherewithal to like have that thought in your brain.
Yeah. I mean, and when you see that, it takes a lot of perspective. The best way that you can see yourself is to view yourself through other people's eyes.
Yeah.
That's not looking in the mirror. Looking in the mirror is a reflection of what you already see.
Yeah.
But looking through the lenses of other people, it's like you got to really ask yourself, am I messing up here?
Dude,
or am I?
You just said something very interesting. So like you use the analogy of looking in the mirror and you see what you see.
Yeah.
So like the fact that people are like, look in the mirror, man, you got to,
dude.
Like I see something.
I love Michael Jackson too.
Yeah.
But when you look in the mirror, you see your own reflection. You got to see it through other lenses.
Yeah. Like that's actual very, very, I'm going to use that because like, dude, like when you look in the mirror, you see what you want to see. Yeah. I mean, some people don't see what they want to see, but I mean, I look in the mirror and I don't think about what I see. I think about brushing my teeth and shaving.
It's a reflection, not a perspective.
Yeah. The perspective is huge. Dude,
So,
you just dropped some Gandhi knowledge on me or something. That's awesome.
so
Dude.
if you live your life in that aspect,
Yeah.
then the world is yours.
Yeah.
You know, not saying cater to other people's lenses, because other people's lenses can be foggy.
Yeah.
You you circle yourself. If you want to be successful, you circle yourself with successful people.
Yeah.
I circled myself with aviators.
Yeah.
And how do they perceive me?
Mhm.
Or in my I had a dinner with some friends out in Hawaii, and Christy was there. They had their aviators come over. They were all crop dusters. Man, what a wild bunch of group. Whew.
No, probably like
Man, they're
Alaska airline or not Alaska bush pilots or whatever.
there's there's special gears going on up there to
Yeah.
do that. But crop dusters they're such an amazing aviator group. They're a lot of fun. A lot of stories.
Playing darts with chemicals.
So yeah, how some of the conversations go is I'm in aviation and they're in aviation. So they ask me, how many hours do you have? And I say, oh, I guess at that point I was 200 hours into it. And they were like, oh man, I've got more time than you do climbing out of crashed airplanes.
Wow.
So, so it was like, what?
Yeah. Wow.
And then they go on about telling the stories and stuff about how he snagged a line and took out 12 mailboxes and he climbed out of his ag cat. And he was like, well, they're not going to be here for a while. So he started picking up the people's mail.
Dude, I would like to talk to some of these folks, man.
Yeah, it was a good night. It was a lot of fun. So, all right. So going back to the lens is like, if I want to make sure that I'm tried and true to my career, I'm not going to look through a doctor's lens because he doesn't know what he's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a bad analogy because there's some doctors that are aviators.
Yeah.
But commercial professionals that,
Well, yeah, with aviation in mind. Because like if you take anything that I say about aviation, you as a professional would be like, well, Bob, it's not like that. It's like, well, I have this idea and does it go down this way? Because I saw it on YouTube. And you're like, that's nice that you're looking into it, but that's not really the way it goes.
Right.
And the way you're able to like communicate things, like you're not like dragging somebody through the wrong thing that they said, you're the way you go about things. I like it a lot.
It's like
you help them realize like, oh, it's not really like that. This is how my experience shows me.
Yeah. There's a conversation that needs to be had, which in conversations are just conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let it get to you. You can't let it get heated. You can't, because I would honestly say some parts of where the country is at today is because, not to get all political or anything, but when did we start not being able to come around the round table and discuss situations? It's like everybody's got their agendas and stuff. So, they're stuck to them. So there's nothing wrong with having an opinion.
Yeah.
Differences of opinion.
Don't marry your opinion. Don't marry your ideology. Don't marry your thoughts. Cause like, if you do that, then you'll never grow. You'll never be able to change because like, if you're going to wear that shirt and be like, I'm the guy who wears this shirt.
Yeah.
Then that's like what you want people to think of you.
Right.
It's not what people really think of you. It's like, I'm the guy that wears the blue checkered shirt. So you must acknowledge that I wear this blue checkered shirt. So anytime you talk to me, acknowledge that I'm the blue checkered shirt guy. It's like, no, man, you could change your shirt. When you go shower, you're vulnerable there.
Right.
You got to clean your body.
I mean, did I honestly want to go right out of flight training and go straight to Hawaii? Yeah, it sounds great. Did I want to do that? No, I didn't. I wanted to go straight in the airline and start making big money. You know what I mean? But I had to.
Yeah.
You know,
Cut the teeth, right?
yeah,
And one thing about airline pilots that I just want to touch real quick too is like, I mean, maybe this isn't true for every airline pilot, but most of the airline pilots that I've ever met
yeah,
and had more than just a hello and goodbye to, they're cool, calm, collected people
hmm
that you would think that in a scenario where something is not going right, they're still cool, calm, and collected.
have to be.
Yeah.
You
And
have to be.
I think that
I
is
mean,
super cool.
when the fire hits the roof, or you know, or the stuff hits the fan,
Yeah.
you know, the last thing you want is like you're the last
Some
resort.
commotion. Yeah.
Like, you're the last resort.
Yeah.
So emergencies, yeah, they happen. They happen all the time. They might not make mainstream media,
Hmm.
but they happen. I mean, and having a big support system, especially at home.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't be where I'm at without my wife.
Yeah. That support system too, like the cliche of the airline pilots drunk or whatever. I'm sure that, there's the outliers that are out there and that has happened
Right.
before. But I have to say most of the aviators that I know aren't really big drinkers.
No.
That I know. So I'm saying, like, I'm sure there's drinkers out there.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm just saying the people that I know, because like every aviator that I know is not the stereotypical version of like the 80s airline pilot where they got two families and
that's changed
yeah,
drastically. It really has. Yes, it did that happen a long time ago? Yeah, it did.
yeah,
I mean, I've flown with some guys that still remember those times. But yeah, I think it's a change in the way people are kind of perceiving health
yeah.
risks.
Do you think do you think the companies too are realizing that, hey, these playboys behind the yokes are, although getting the job done for us, they're we need somebody with some kind of stability in their life. And
I think they're also recognizing it,
Mhm,
and instead of, say, back then
mhm,
when you got when you were sick or you're cold, you know, you got a cold or whatnot. Oh, you just, oh, whatever. You know, the macho mentality, the get
mhm.
there mentality. The companies are providing avenues through. All right, if you've got a problem, you're not going to lose your job, but you definitely need to fix what's going on.
Yeah,
So they've actually came around and have made they've made avenues that are non-punitive and really great programs to, kind of cope with stress and cope with being sleep deprived, cope with what's going on at home.
yeah,
And there's a non-negative outcome. They actually prefer, it's like, hey, if you got a problem, man, raise your hand.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's cool.
for the most part, because it is it's not like, oh, I've got a drinking problem, so if I raise my hand, then I'm self-disclosing, so I'm going to
Yeah,
ultimately lose my job.
yeah,
That whole demographic has changed. That whole vibe has changed. And I think that it's been for the better. It definitely has made the skies safer. It's made the job, and it's made people kind of reflect on, oh, that's not really who I want to be. But
yeah,
through stress and repetitive action, I've
yeah,
kind of found myself here,
yeah,
but I don't want to be here, but I can't raise, now they can raise their hand
yeah.
and say, hey, I've got a problem.
That's cool because, like, you guys as airline pilots,
Yeah.
there is a lot of lull in an airline pilot, like just for the simple fact that if you're flying out of, like, I don't know, Kennedy or wherever,
Yeah.
then and you living in Georgia, you have that 6 hour flight, or not flight, but that the travel time just to get to where you're going to be flying
Yep.
out of. And then you got to be put up in a hotel. And some people might find that very cool and interesting. And, but like
For the
when,
first couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, for the first couple of years, but like
You-
as soon
you-
as soon as like your kid's first tooth fell out and you weren't there, or you're
yeah,
like, I'm in this stupid Hilton right now, and it's just like it's a 4-star
yeah,
hotel, but
yeah.
at the same time, you know, the hot water isn't really hot, and it's a 4-star hotel,
Oh,
or
that happens. Yes,
yeah, you know,
that
like,
happens.
and it's very easy to feel like you're missing out.
Yeah, all the I would say loneliness would be the number one
Yeah,
like contributing stress factor.
yeah,
Um, Christmases, I
dude.
mean, birthdays, games, even church events that you want to go to.
Yeah,
It's like, man, I really want to go to this, but or I really want to help out. But yeah, I think, yeah, I missed Georgia's first time she rode her bike. Her mom taught her how to ride her bike.
yeah,
You know, as the father in the family, it's like that's such a small but huge accomplishment.
yeah,
Um, and you know, Sawyer, you know, he did karate for the longest time,
mhm,
and I might have been to a handful
yeah,
of him going up in belt colors. You
yeah.
know, it's just
That's tough because, like, I think, you know, for people who are in aviation, especially, like, there's other people, they're not just pilots
yeah,
that are that schedule, but any kind
flight
of
attendants too.
stewardess, flight
Yeah,
attendants,
yeah,
um, mechanics, you know, like, there are people
yeah.
who they might work out of, Atlanta, but at the same time, they might live in Tennessee,
Yeah.
you know,
I
like, if
bring mechanics from LA to Memphis all the time because they work in Memphis.
yeah,
You know, they'll be there for a week and then they'll go back for the weekend.
yeah, and
Um,
very, very tough, and the amount of stuff that you miss out on, I feel like, you know, you could equate that to a military person.
right.
You equate that to the film industry person,
Yep.
a trucker.
There's a lot of traveling businesses and jobs out there
Yeah.
that
The trucking as like your father's in trucking.
yeah,
So although this is second nature to you, it doesn't matter how much you know about it. It's still uncomfortable,
right.
you know, because to have your family grow up without you, even your wife, like for instance, like I noticed with Angela too, like how much she's grown while like if I'm working on a project and like this project's taken, you know, I'm working 16 hours a day
Yeah.
for, you know, 6 days a week for 4.5 months, how much people grow in that 4.5 months that you're just not there. You look at your kid and you're like, wait a second. You know, I could have swore you were, you know, a little shorter, a little, you know, like,
right.
did you got more teeth now or something? What's happened? You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, like I really feel for airline pilots and airlines, you know, attendants and stuff like that
Yeah.
when I think about that. And I don't even think about like the air traffic controllers because I hear they work long, hard hours and,
Yep.
you know, the whole industry. And it makes me think like, oh man, they're not the only ones. The film people aren't the only ones. The military aren't the only
Right.
ones.
Doctors, nurses,
Doctors, nurses,
travel electricians,
dude,
roofing guys,
yeah,
you know.
it's crazy. If you're in the construction industry and you're, you know, you're welding pipe for a living, you're a pipe fitter. Forget
Right.
about it. You're living in some kind of trailer.
Right.
And
Oil rigs.
yeah, I mean, like living in the trailer at a trailer park that you don't want to be at, and you're working 4 or 5 hours away from your family, so it's not like you
Right.
can see them any second.
Yeah. So you get to the pinnacle of your career and now you're stuck in four walls.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
But saying that, that's just kind of a realization, kind of a real statement, but it is very rewarding. I don't, to be honest with you. I mean, if I had to do something else, I would, but I wouldn't know what else to do.
well, I mean, like you got to think about this too. Like, you know, on your shirt it says "Made for More."
Yeah.
You know, we both believe um, that there's, you know, more out there than just to what's in our face.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, like I think that you were made to be a pilot.
Right.
So the fact that the aviation was in your blood at such a young age, I mean, proves that you know that it could have gone a different way,
Yep.
but because you liked it so much and you felt that it was in your blood, um, you had the persistence to make it that way.
Right.
You could be the project manager or the owner of a company that is like clearing some land right now, and doing some good, giving some the ability to people to have homes,
Right.
you could be doing that as well. And, could be living the same life because guess what? That project that your grandfather worked on wasn't always close to home, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. He had a
You know?
commute,
Yeah.
he was in the area, but yeah, the many summers that I worked with him, I mean, it was hour and a half, depending on traffic,
Mhm.
commute to and from. I mean, and then that's what he loved. That's what he wanted to do. That in his definition of being made for more, that's
Yeah.
what he got his more from.
Yeah.
Aviation is where I got my more from.
Yeah.
Um, but then stop, whenever you get to, what's next?
Yeah.
It's like there's always something, so I'm a first officer now, but
Mhm.
what's next? I'm going to be a captain one day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Well, all right. So then that's aviation, but then there's all, it's because I've decided to step out of the norm of my family. I'm the first aviator out of my entire family.
Yeah.
It was a very foreign concept.
Creating that
Um,
road, man. Wow.
but then, yeah, so then and once you get to the, not really the end of that, I mean, there's always something else that all right, I'm happy with where I'm at. And I would be more than happy
Yeah.
to just say, cruise until retirement where I'm at. But you know what? There's a difference between making it,
Yeah.
paying the bills, or making it as a legacy,
Yeah.
and hopefully, well, Sawyer, my son, I mean, he's all into aviation.
Yeah.
I mean, he's all into aviation. And Georgia, I think she wants to be a hairstylist. So
Yeah. Well, hey, dude, they could always, change their. One thing I know is kids change their minds so
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Like when I sit there and think about the future, and because I personally didn't have this idea of leaving any kind of legacy. I did so many different jobs, and when I found the film industry, thanks to my cousin John, he showed me a different way of life. He showed
Yeah.
me the film industry is
Right.
a interesting thing, and I realized once I got into the film industry,
Uh-huh.
I was among people who were on my wavelength.
Right.
You know,
But it's a funny
So-
thing too, though, is like I used to be a rigger.
yeah,
I mean, for RSL Theatrical
Yeah.
down in Columbus, Georgia, building and breaking down concert stages.
yeah,
Did that for a little bit with my cousin, but that just didn't. I had to listen to myself.
yeah,
It was fun. I loved it. I mean,
yeah.
building and breaking down, big and rich
Mhm.
concert stages to who else? I mean, there was a couple of different bands that I did, but that wasn't my jive.
Yeah, your drive was being a navigator through the
Through the sky.
through the
Four
sky.
holes.
Yeah, dude, did you ever see any wormholes up there? Any? I believe the government made
No.
it easier for folks to talk about.
No,
this stuff.
we see satellites all the time, though. I mean, we see satellites early in the morning, late in the afternoon. They're out east, and then going west, they're up north. Where they're reflecting off of the solar panels and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys that get on the frequencies, and hey, you see that there's a spot orbiting like really high up in the sky.
Oh.
And then you get a FedEx guy over the radio. So, they'll get on the radio, and I remember my first night flight too. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I feel like since a lot of YouTubers and podcasts are out there, with and who knows why the alien space game is such a big thing right now, but like I feel like I haven't seen anything
No.
like as far as like that's like substantial that I could really sink my teeth into.
Yeah.
But I want it to be there.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like open to look at
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, for
man,
sure.
I think like when I think of you being in the sky flying and things like that, and being the aviation is this career path that you are not only navigating through the skies, but you're navigating it through your life, right?
Right.
So like you you have sometimes you can't close your ears to what happens in the media, and like you'll hear about the Washington DC crash, or
Right.
you'll
Yeah.
you hear about all these like very horrific
Right.
instances that happen and
Yeah.
things like that.
I've actually flown that aircraft into that airport and landed on that runway specifically. I used to be
Wow.
DC based.
Yeah.
So
With
very familiar with what
when you say you flew
the
that aircraft, you flew that
Yeah.
type of aircraft or that
No.
exact aircraft?
702 Papa Sierra. It was
Wow.
the tail number.
Yeah.
702 or 701. I believe it was 702 Papa Sierra. It was a CRJ 700.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that's yeah.
So
I used to train students going in and out of there all the time.
yeah, that's scary to
But
me, like I mean, like here's the thing that when I'm hearing about this news and stuff like that, I always try to like accept positive and block out negative information as much as I possibly can. But I can't help but think of you and a few other people
Yeah.
when you hear about these airline instances where it's the horrific thing. Uh, when you say you flew that route and you flew that airplane, it cements it into me that like no matter what part of time that you're flying or whatever anyone is doing, like you have to be that cool, calm, collected person, because like to the minute of when anything bad happens, that cool, calm, collect is still happening even after the bad thing that happened.
oh yeah.
So it's like the to get a professional opinion on how do I want to ask this, like because it's not that I don't know what I want to say. So as a professional
Okay.
looking at this instance,
Yeah.
like what do you think that your colleagues and your friends and the people that are in your industry, how they reacted to this being in the media and stuff like that? Like do you think that the aviation industry is doing a good job reacting to these things? Because like you're hearing so many if ands or buts, and like, oh,
Yeah,
this was
there's
premeditated, like
a
that's
lot of stipulations. Everybody has an opinion, which
yeah.
it's everybody's got an opinion, but in reality, I mean, the NTSB, which
Mhm.
is the people who
Study this, yeah.
investigated everything that happened, they have. Thankfully, we do live in such a digital world
Mhm.
that those aircraft, even small airplanes to this day, that they have called an ADSB,
Mhm.
which is altitude and traffic avoidance and reporting. Um, not to also add to the speculation,
Mhm.
or assuming what had happened because I wasn't there, and to be honest with you, I haven't even read the NTSB report about that incident. But because I've flown that route and did that approach so
Mhm.
many times, I can physically visualize that entire thing because I've done it so much
Yeah.
that, you know, uh, there's just two aircraft that tried to occupy the same airspace at the same time.
Yeah.
Whose fault it was? Well, I can guarantee you that I'll just say this, that the aviators in that CRJ aircraft,
Mhm.
they were looking at the runway.
Yeah.
They were, I would say, exactly where they were supposed to be when they were supposed to be there
Yeah.
because of the aircraft setup. If we are too low, too high, we have instruments on board is like,
Yeah.
terrain avoidance, or we have indicators,
Yeah.
even if it's a visual approach, we still have visual path indicators
Yeah.
and there are procedures that are ingrained in PSA's specific training program and
Yeah.
platforms and approaches that they inundate us so much going through training, especially in and out of Washington Reagan,
Yeah.
because of the sensitive airspace, the White House, the monuments, the, you know,
Yeah.
right there to the, the east side of the runway.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-fly zone, and they ingrained in us that if they do or don't, I don't know, but I was told that there's missiles on every corner of those buildings.
Sure. Yeah.
So I never want to get shot down. So,
Yeah.
in other words, what I'm saying is, when they were going in there, they were probably where they were exactly supposed to be.
Yeah.
The helicopter.
Some kind of malfunction with the
Um,
altitude, and because they
You don't
said,
well, the thing is too, is you don't know if they were under, or like, were they under night vision goggles? That is
yeah.
very restricting for vision. When
Yeah.
they reported, or when the ATC told them about the traffic, were they looking at the traffic that they were supposed to be looking at?
Yeah.
I mean, and those helicopters also fly those routes a lot in DC. But
Hmm.
I mean, what was he looking up to try and see where the aircraft was at? And then what's going to naturally happen if you've got a collective and you start looking up? Same thing with an airplane. You start looking up, you're
Hmm.
just like driving a car. You look right. What's going to naturally happen to your steering wheel?
Yeah.
You're going to start veering off to the right, veering off to the left.
Yeah.
Collective makes the helicopter go up and down. So he might have been pulling a little bit too much,
Yeah.
and then drifting up, not paying attention to his altitude.
Yeah. I think that,
So-
like, from a professional perspective here, like, how much information does the public truly need? Because I feel like when this was happening, everything was being politicized and put under the magnifying glass, because I feel like aviation is so safe. And, anytime you hear about an accident of
Yeah.
any kind of, even if it's a tractor trailer accident or
Yeah.
a car accident,
Right.
it's not going to be sensationalized like an airplane accident.
Especially, yeah. I mean, it was a big hit to the FAA
Yeah.
and to aviators. Every aviator, if they didn't feel it personally, like that is a personal, like if it didn't affect them personally,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, I don't know. I feel for my brothers and my sisters
Yeah.
that are out there flying just like I do. And
Mhm.
when you hear of any airplane going down, if it's
It's-
foreign airliner or at home,
Yeah.
like it affects you, because why? That could have been me.
Yeah.
That could have been my buddy.
Yeah.
One of the flight attendants that were on that airplane, I have flown with him.
Yeah.
I didn't specifically fly with, there's 2 flight attendants and 2 pilots. I didn't fly with one of the flight attendants or either of the pilots, but that one flight attendant, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I loved flying. He was an awesome dude.
Yeah.
I remember him as well. Whenever I was there, and yeah, my heart goes out for the family. And uh, our aviation, our FARs,
Mhm.
which is a book, our regulations. That book's written in blood.
Yeah.
What happened? Like, when something bad happens, that's when a reg comes out.
Yeah.
Another thing happens. That's
they-
where another thing comes out.
They don't know
They-
until something fails, right?
Right,
It's like,
exactly. And so we've always, the aviation community knows that our federal aviation regulation, our FARs, is everybody says this is written in blood, because it truly is.
yeah.
Because if it was perfect and no accidents would happen, well, then new regs wouldn't come out.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So, so my heart definitely goes out to the family. Politicizing it,
I felt like I heard too much about it. That's all.
what is these,
The algorithms don't help either, because as soon as you look at one thing and then 6 more pop up.
yeah.
And then all of a
social
sudden-
media and stuff like that. Everybody has an opinion. They think that their opinion is the way it happened. But but ultimately, going back to the digital world, whenever those black boxes, which are not black, by the way, they're orange, once they come out with all the data, every bit of that's recorded.
Yeah.
Every accident up until the point those flight data recorders were established.
Mhm.
They know everything from airspeed, pitch, altitude, bank angles
Yeah.
to landing configuration. Every micro switch. I don't even know how. There's probably hundreds of micro switches all over the
Yeah, the
airplane.
miles and miles of
Of
wires.
wires. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Same with
Sensors.
the helicopters too.
Sure.
They have flight data recorders. Um, Thankfully that they do. I mean, you never want bad things to happen. I definitely don't.
No, nobody does. Yeah.
Nobody does. But I'm glad that we do have things in place to where if we
Yeah.
need to make changes, we do. You know,
Yeah. That's
and when it doesn't make a change, then that's where there's other questions that need to be had.
yeah,
You know,
man.
so
That's a big pill to swallow as far as like just knowing, because like I put my family on planes here and there all the time to fly up to Pittsburgh
Yep.
to go wherever we need to go, and sometimes the flight is the fastest and most inexpensive or the least inexpensive way. So
I put my family on airplanes too.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I know what goes on behind the curtains.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Um, so I was to say that, I mean, we have the safest airspace.
yeah,
I would say that we've got the safest airspace in the world.
yeah,
I mean, I know the UAE and Europe and stuff like they've got good stuff too. Like
yeah.
don't get me wrong.
Do you have a
Um,
favorite? Not to sideline your conversation about the airspace, but like,
yeah.
do you have a favorite airport to go to?
My favorite airport to go to, I would have to say Kalapapa, Hawaii.
My gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but I'd like to go there now. Check it out.
It is beautiful. The only way that you can get there is you have to go to Maui. You have to go to Maui Aviators, rent an airplane, and fly over there.
Oh wow.
Simply because it's it was an old leper colony,
Hmm.
and the runway is on the shoreline, but then right off to the right hand side or the left hand side, whichever way you're landing, there's 5, 6, 700-foot sea cliffs
Oh
right there,
wow.
and it's just that's probably I'd have to say that's probably my favorite
That sounds gorgeous.
airport to go to. I don't go there every day or for
Yeah.
work or anything, but that's my favorite airport.
We're trying this new thing here. Well, I shouldn't say we're trying this new thing. So all this new technology that we're trying.
Yeah.
I would like to put some kind of photo or something up there while we're
Okay.
talking about this. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I'm going to try.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, do
definitely.
some
Yeah,
kind of-
Kalapapa. I'll spell it out. Yeah, I'll spell it out for you.
Yeah.
So
We'll hopefully have a.
we'll do
image of
that.
it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful airport.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. But
Yeah, I think that's not. I mean, like I understand the UAE in Europe, they have like nice airspace too, and I'm sure India has probably some high technology, and China and everything.
yes, yeah, they everybody has their their own airspace. They have their own rules and regulations too.
Mhm.
Like just the FAA is not the only ruling for airspace in the world. You've got the
That's just
FAA, you've got the CAAC, you've got the CAA,
Yeah.
oh, not CAAC, sorry, that's one of the colleges over in China, but the CAA,
Yeah.
you have I forget the European governing entity
Yeah.
for their countries. But the FAA is ours, and I would say that, I've been flying in it and for quite a few years, and people have been flying in it a lot longer than I have,
Yeah.
and it works for us. I
Yeah.
mean, I will say that it is different. I've done I've gone over to Europe and bouncing back and forth between Milan and Paris, and then Stansted and Dublin, and I did that 2 years ago for a 10-day haul, and it was definitely different.
Yeah.
It was different how they communicated. The way that they say what they want you to do is a little bit different than here. But
Do they have to speak kind of like, I don't want to say perfect English?
they
But-
don't speak perfect English, but the ICAO level of
Okay.
aviation
Flying into
language.
Dublin, you're like, it's
See,
like, what?
Those controllers are absolutely insane. Like, they will be like, you go to Paris,
Mhm.
and when they talk to you, they're in English, but when they're talking to other people,
Mhm.
you know, they're talking in French.
Yeah.
But then you go to Milan and they talk to you in English, but then they're talking Italian.
Yeah.
You go to Germany, you hear when they're talking to you, they're in English, but then when they're talking to their locals, they're talking in German.
Mhm.
So you get the different accents, but they know that you're an American. So they kind of pull they
Oh.
try to speak English. Some of them, you know, it's like, well, I look over the captain. I'm like, what did they say? He's like, I don't know. So you ask them to repeat it, and they get a little spicy sometimes. But once you start doing it, and you starting to pick up on the accent,
Mhm.
you can really start to understand them.
Yeah. Some of the things that pop into my YouTube all the time are like airline pilots not following what the air traffic control is saying.
JFK is the best.
Oh man, it's like we need you to fly 2 knots or like 302 degrees, whatever it is. It's like why are you not doing that? Or what's and then the airline pilot goes, I'm just coming in to land this plane right now, okay, guys. It's like, like whatever you're telling me to do, I'm not seeing it, and it's like, well, report to traffic control when you're done. It's like,
Here's the phone number. Write it down when you're ready. The JFK taxi instructions is pretty hysterical.
Oh man,
those are so funny. Oh my gosh, JFK ground controllers are they're top notch. I mean, they're up there whenever it comes to talking to ground control.
Do they talk in that like a Brooklyn accent? Like, hey, yo, like Papa Delta flight, you going down?
Oh yeah. I didn't say go down, Charlie. Yeah. Just stop. Stop.
I can't stop. I'm 300 miles an hour in the air right now.
Yeah. When they're on the ground.
Oh, dude.
Man, I listen to those just to get it's all. I mean, it's fun and games until somebody gets hurt. But but it is. They have a busy airspace up there.
For me, not being in the airline industry, my YouTube is filled with airline stuff all the time. I do have I shouldn't say an aspiration, because like I'm not aspiring, I'm not trying to do it, but I would love to be able to afford and find the time to become a pilot. Even if it's private. But like one of the things that always pop up into my YouTube feeds is the YouTube pilot stating his speed when that story of the YouTube pilot. I don't know it off by heart or anything, but the story goes
it's like, what's your airspeed, and then they talk to an SR-71.
Yeah.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
If you go on YouTube and just test airspeed SR-71, it is a great. It's like that's like the big dog telling you who he is.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
man,
I knew we were instantly friends.
Yeah. My gosh. Like, what is like, so like you fly what right now for FedEx?
A 767.
So that's a big plane.
So yeah. It's a wide body.
Yeah. So you're how heavy does that thing get before, like what's the heaviest that thing can get before you take off?
Well, when we went to Brazil, we had a takeoff weight of 408,000 pounds. So 408.
So to give people an idea, that's like, gosh, okay. So that's like 5.5 semi trucks filled to the gills of total weight. So you're, that's
because what's DOT? 86? 83?
80,000.
Oh, 80. That's right. Yeah. So 80,000 fully weighted.
Yeah, that's truck. That's truck, tractor, and cargo all.
Correct.
Yeah. So, that's a lot, dude.
It's
That's
heavy.
flying above your heads. And you're a pilot in that. You're like
Yeah.
you are a team of how many in a plane when you're flying that?
Doing that route,
Yeah.
there's 3 of us.
So 3 of you
Yeah.
are in charge of 400 and some thousand pounds in the
That's
sky.
it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
thank goodness for hydraulics.
Yeah, dude. Like when you're landing that
Yeah.
heavy plane, I know you feel it in every inch of your body.
Oh yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah. And that doesn't, I mean, we head off to Denver and, we're landing in Denver. We'll say, I mean, we burn a lot of gas.
Yeah.
Right? We burn a lot of Jet A. And I mean, sometimes you're taking, 120,000 pounds in just fuel alone.
Yeah.
That's just
Wow.
gas that you're going to burn.
Man.
Yeah, we'll talk about, going down to Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 10 hours of just nonstop flight. Think about how much gas you got to burn.
Gosh.
Has
it got a Hemi in it?
It's got 2 of them. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
it's got 2. So those flights you need 3, but most of the routes that I do is only 2. It's just 2 of us. Pilot flying, pilot monitoring.
Yeah.
So if I'm flying, then I've got my hands on the controls. He's monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
We switch roles. He's pilot flying, I'm pilot monitoring, mainly like doing the frequencies, the radios, things of that nature. But, high altitude like Denver and Guadalajara, they those are high altitude airports, and it just makes that weight feel even weightier.
Oh, wow.
I mean, just because
the pressure is not there?
The air. Yeah, it's
Thinner?
thinner. Yeah, it's a lot thinner, more sluggish, on the controls. Reaction time is, you've got to think a couple heads of, at least a couple more seconds ahead of time.
Yeah.
So when you do this, it doesn't necessarily do that.
Yeah.
So you do that 2 or 3 seconds later, then it starts doing
Yeah.
It's very sluggish. So you've got to be kind of on top of anticipation.
You got to know your delay time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That way you don't overcompensate. So is it more or less like when you're doing that, like you just have one pull and then you wait and then one pull and then like
you just kind of do it. If it's calm winds, then you just kind of just nice and smooth. And it's more like a set and
it stays there.
Stay there.
Okay.
Yeah. You just kind of, because you are flying a heavier jet. Most you're going to be nose up like this. So you're kind of what we call already in a flare.
Yeah.
But you go from, very minuscule amount of just like that. And it brings that nose up just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Not enough to where you start
taking altitude,
flying again.
Yeah.
But you're rotating as you're still plowing through, but then you just bring the nose up to where you continue plowing, ground effect, touchdown. Because an airplane like that, it's you kind of, it's 2 landings. One, you got the main gear is the landing gear are, what is it? Probably
40 feet behind you or something like that. Or
no,
60?
they're probably 100 feet behind.
100 feet
yeah,
behind you. What am I thinking? 40 feet's nothing.
Yeah, they're probably 150 feet behind you.
Wow.
And then you've got the nose. So then you touch down, and then you land the nose gear. So it's kind of a
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that
kind of a 2-step process, not a single step process.
Yeah, that's very exciting to me. And I always think about the times that like you guys are probably flying. You're like 8 hours in, like Jimbo, I can't hold it anymore. I shouldn't have had that double cheeseburger at Ruby's or whatever.
Yeah. Well, at top of descent, we have an indicator, or it shows us our top of descent. Before you get to the top of descent, you try to take care of that so you don't get. Nobody's like some wiggles on the descent.
Oh my gosh! Do pilots? Like being that it's a small community. Because I know there's thousands of pilots, but it's still a small community.
Cow, man.
So
over the years,
300 and some million people in the United States. There's 2,000, 3,000 pilots in the United States, maybe, or not even.
It's more than that.
Okay.
But I would say you know, probably 2%.
Yeah, that's
Maybe 3%. I don't know exactly the.
yeah,
I don't know
I
the
think it'd be
exact.
less than that because, like,
Well,
I mean,
so-
how many people are there in America? 380 million or something like that.
yeah, we're gonna have to Google that.
I feel stupid right now.
We're gonna have to Google that.
Yeah, but still, it's a
well,
small group.
So FedEx, you know, we're just under 6,000 pilots.
Oh, just FedEx. Wow,
just FedEx alone,
Oh,
under
that's right.
6,000 pilots.
What am I thinking?
American, I think, has the largest pilot group. I think they're like 14.
Yeah,
Delta's 12. Again, I don't know. We're gonna have to Google it, but
this is like this is my I just was not thinking about, like, you guys fly thousands of flights a day every day for 365 days a year.
Yes.
And so that you're doing 3 shifts of flights.
Yes.
Wow.
And that's just, I mean, that we're talking, you know, you've got the big 4, you know, Delta, American, United, big 3, sorry. But then you've got the, you know, the low cost carrier, the LCCs, then you have the regionals, then you've got the cargo, you know, you got UPS, Atlas, FedEx. Those are the big cargo guys just in the US. And then you've got the feeders, and then you've got the private jets. And then, so in the United States, I would say, just a ballpark, if I had a dartboard, it'll probably not even come close to the board, but 100,000 guys, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
You know, maybe 100,000 out of, you know, quite a few million, though, that lives here in the United States.
Wow. So, I mean,
it's a very small percentage.
It still sounds small when you put it that way.
Yeah.
Like when you're like, all right, man, hey, Jimbo, I have a new restaurant to go to.
Yes.
You know, like, you know, Louis told me when he flew in here two weeks ago.
Oh,
there
yeah.
was a new restaurant.
Yeah.
Is that on your radar? Like, what's on the radar of pilots?
Yeah, you start to, well, if I want beignet, I go to Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
If I want hot wings, I go to Manchester, because there's a place up there. It's called the Thirsty Moose. The Thirsty Moose, they got the best hot wings in the country, in my opinion. You want, you know, you want seafood. You want lobster. What's the best? You know, you want clam chowder.
Oh,
New England. You know, you want Texas barbecue. You go to Texas.
Yeah, that just goes to show you folks that are listening here, when you're a professional airline pilot for a commercial company, you might just take a particular route just because you're in the mood for some clam chowder.
Yeah. You want a whoopie pie? You go to Philly.
Oh yeah, dude, Pittsburgh. I have to tell you that Pittsburgh has a very, very eclectic. Different like types of eateries. Like I shouldn't say it's not small. It's just completely whatever you're in the mood for. I guarantee you Pittsburgh has something. Yeah. And you're making me super duper hungry. I want to fly.
You go to Puerto Rico for mofongo.
Oh, I never had it. Puerto Rico. What's going on with Puerto Rico right now? Is that I mean, like, dude, people still go there for vacationing and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go to I'll mainly go to Brinken.
Yeah.
But you know, we go to San Juan as well. I just can't. I'm not senior enough to hold it.
Yeah.
I go to Brinken a lot. You know, it's cold here.
Yeah.
It's not cold there. So,
dude, I liked Puerto Rico so much. I mean, the very small amount of people that I got to talk to and like them help us out, they're memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved it. I really do like it.
Yeah.
I should take my family somewhere.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on a little vacay.
Yeah. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, like,
take a vacation.
Yeah.
You may come back, you may not.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Man. I feel like
no, just kidding.
Man. With doing this whole podcast thing, you know, the whole reason why we're starting is we're trying to, you know, like Pinbox Productions is trying to create a avenue of income to come in, so we don't have to rely on, you know, whether, you know, we from stuff that we saved, because during COVID we learned that a very hard lesson that, you know, the film industry is um, just it's not going to be there.
Oh, okay, got you,
That's all.
got you.
So we've been trying to survive with the film
Even with
industry.
like the digital streaming, and I mean,
No, yeah, I mean because of the writer's strike and the stuff that just went down in 2023, I believe the production companies and all of the studios they decided that they're going to take a different approach to how they make movies. And
everything's going AI.
well, AI is a huge thing. AI is definitely not where Hollywood needs it to be. However, it is a strong tool for, you know, any kind of digital movie. But I have a feeling that in the future there's going to be digital movies, and then there's going to be like actual live action movies.
Yeah.
And there's going to be people who like digital movies, and there's going to be people who I just like live action movies.
Yeah, I mean,
So
man, there's nothing. I mean, I love a good Gunsmoke.
yeah,
Old black and white
yeah,
Gunsmoke movie, old Western. I
dude.
mean, it's like kind of takes you back to like, the, the big lights and explosions and stuff like that. I mean, it's awesome, but
Mhm.
I don't know sci-fi, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I love,
Yeah.
what Lucas did with the, waiting until technological advances happened before he started filming uh, the earlier movies. But um, yeah, live action kind of stuff, black and white. It's
Mhm.
almost like, I mean, you're living back in that time.
Yeah.
Old westerns, kind of like I don't know, kind of like a
Yeah.
history lesson.
People are definitely gonna
It's fun to watch.
yeah, people are definitely gonna have like their opinion
Yeah.
on whether if something's going to be done. Like I just had a conversation with my buddies that came in here a couple days ago. We worked on a movie called Electric State. Me and Mark. Uh, Mark didn't really like Electric State that much.
Mm.
Me, I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, I liked it. Like
Yeah.
I didn't see anything necessarily wrong with it. However, he was on the production side where he was working in. I was on the outside. I was a teamster taking care of um, production vans and production trucks and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I sit there and think to myself that there might be a distance that is needed for me to really appreciate a project that maybe I worked on. So like that one, I had the appropriate amount of distance
Okay.
that I was able to enjoy the product, that was the final product. Um, a lot of people think that that is the way AI is going because of how digital it was, and
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah.
Mark was talking about how it seemed like he was able to see the different layers of the movie, like when someone's editing a movie, there's different layers, so different actions happen all at the same time. And I didn't see that, and I got thinking like, well, Mark, your TV is probably like super new. It's probably like on HDR, so everything is like real high definition.
Right.
Like
Right.
I
You
have
got the vivid screen on, man.
yeah, it's too vivid, bro. Like I have my screen resolution turned down because like you could watch a Smokey and the Bandit
Yeah.
and it looks so sharp. You're like, I do not like the way this looks.
Right.
So I actually have my image dumbed down, and I'm sure that the HDR and the 4K, like it's possible to do the 4K, but sometimes just I'd rather just like have it more, I don't know, dumbed down, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Toned down.
yeah, I think that Electric State has so much going for it, for all the digital aspect of it,
Got you. Yeah.
that a lot of people think that's going to be the way the big movies are made in the future.
Mm.
And I don't think so. I think that production houses, whether if it's Netflix or if it's Amazon or whatever, I think that budgets are going to be way smaller, and people are going to be inventive again to make that product. And I think that Amazon, Netflix, they're going to rely on people who are actually artistic again, because
Right.
I think big money got into the film industry. And they were like, hey, we need to, like, it's mathematics. We need to spend $250 million. We need these people there to push it because we know percentages of when this lead actor works and when this, co-star works. Like, we know that they're able to bring in, $500 million.
Yeah.
So that's the mathematical problem that they're doing.
Huh.
But I think that there's going to be a market for people who are not doing big budget movies. They might still be large funded, like whether if it's 90 million or 120 million,
Mm-hmm.
but they're going to be made in a manner where it's, the film industry is going to come back a little bit, because like the digital stuff, and it's like, how many cartoons do you want to watch?
Right.
Like
Yeah,
I need to see, I need to see Smokey jump that lake again, or that river, and I need to see that car compress the way it compressed.
Right.
Like, man, does this digital eyeball look so strange, and the digital hair looks so real, but I know it's fake.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much do you want to allow yourself to suspend reality?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah. Well, hey, dude, we're getting to about an hour and 50 minutes.
Okay.
And I know that you have places to be. I know you're super busy. I did want to touch base with you on one thing before we go.
Okay.
One of the things that you are, besides being an awesome dude and a very talented pilot,
So are you, man?
You're also an entrepreneur, and you have some things in the works. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but
Yeah.
you have some things in the works that excite me, dude, and I'm so excited and happy for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you able to talk about some of these things that you're going to be doing?
I think I can talk about it.
Yeah, just
it's
real quick.
It's so Christy and I,
because this is a
still
lot of people's dreams, by the way. This right here.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I think what you're doing for what we're about to talk about, I think a lot of people have this idea.
Yeah,
and
the biggest thing is it's a lot of learning. I wouldn't have thought to it's like, okay, we're talking about like owning a VRBO or an Airbnb. Or, so I'm tailoring
rental
property, short-term rental. Short-term rental property. The VRBO aspect of it is more catered to family-oriented vacations. Airbnb does have that, but I've been told that they're like, hey, if you've got 4 rooms, you can rent those out through Airbnb. VRBO caters a little bit more towards, renting out the whole house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of, at one given moment, talking to at least 5 attorneys and having 4 different contracts going on at one time in a single day. It takes a lot of grit.
Yeah.
You think of that whenever we first started thinking about it. Oh man, that'd be awesome. Let's get an Airbnb, let's get a VRBO. Let's get a short-term rental property. And it all stemmed from, we were selling some inherited property, and, we're going through a 1031 exchange. If no one knows what that is, it's where you can defer capital gains.
Yeah. You don't have to pay the taxes.
Yeah. Because ultimately what I'm doing, I'm selling one property and purchasing another, right? You can defer capital gains on that. Working with the sellers or the buyer's attorney, working with my 1031 exchange attorney, and then purchasing a property has an attorney, and then also developing an LLC, a business. Scenic Stays LLC is our company. That
so Scenic Stays, look out for that in the future, because the place that you showed me is gorgeous.
It's out.
I don't know if you and Christy think about this at all, but like the stuff that you guys kind of do really help benefit other folks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really cool. Like this isn't a Um, I know this is a way to move your money right and bring some income in and things like
Yeah.
that. But dude, this is still helping people because that property would not have been able to come up like the property that you're looking at, or if you, I don't know if you actually got it yet, but
We close beginning of next month. So
okay.
yeah, in a couple days we're closing on it, and we're closing on the sale of the property and purchasing the property and doing all the whole bit. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's
Opening that up for people who need it, like
right.
who want to have a nice
Yeah,
getaway for a
right.
family, like
We're
that's awesome.
we're made for more.
Yeah, dude.
Um, it's a dream that Christy and I had always talked about. One of the biggest things that in mine and her personal life is having 7 streams of income. That's a goal.
Hmm. Yeah.
This is one of the goals.
Yeah.
This is kind of the start of it. Now, mind you, that it started from years and years ago. And like, I didn't wake up yesterday morning and say I want to go buy a piece of property.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You've talked about this a lot. I mean,
a,
you even converted your garage up
it's
there.
like, yeah, a lot of sleepless nights.
Hmm.
Um, and that, I love social media is fun and stuff like that. But in reality, when you see, oh, they've got the perfect life on social media, you have to account for what they have done
Yeah.
behind the scenes. And so, yeah, Scenic Stays is purchasing a property out on Lake Wedowee, Alabama. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath lake house
Beautiful.
that comes with a dock and stuff like that. It's our first short-term rental to our portfolio,
Nice.
and taking not being afraid of debt.
Hmm.
Because what's the worst thing? I went to Hawaii. The worst thing that happened, I'd jump on an airplane,
Come right
come
back.
back. What's the worst thing that happened? I have to sell the property.
Yeah.
That fear of having debt is not going to scare me.
Yeah.
One, I've got a Lord above that's looking out for me. He's first and foremost.
Hmm.
Um,
Amen to that.
like you have to, be, you have to immerse yourself in His will.
Yeah.
It's His kingdom. It's not mine. It's His portfolio, not mine.
Yeah.
He's just allowing me to be a steward of it.
Yeah. Well, you being a custodian and a steward of your of what you have going on here,
Right.
like, but once again, dude, everything that I think of about you and Christy and your family, it's like you're constantly benefiting others.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like from
Word.
my point of view, I'm sure from your point of view, from Christy's point of view, you're like, I got this going on, and like, oh my gosh, it's like there's so many things that I can point to that it's like if it wasn't for you, something wouldn't be happening right now. You and Christy, if you and Christy weren't making the moves that you're doing or doing whatever it is that you're doing on a daily basis, something wouldn't be happening for somebody else.
Right. And
So that's pretty damn cool.
and a lot of the benefits is also, we don't see it just as a, hey, we're building our portfolio for a short term rental to make money off of it. It's like there's going to be that.
Yeah.
It's got to pay for itself.
Yeah.
I mean,
It has to
come
make
on.
sense.
Yeah,
Or
it
else,
has to make sense.
yeah.
Right. But then,
And not cents in dollars. And it has to make sense mentally.
yeah,
Or physically and dollars, I guess.
yeah, yeah, they're
Yeah.
kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But then what is more, um, what I look forward to is the summer nights with my kids,
Yeah.
the summer nights with my friends, my
Yeah.
small groups that um, that are going to go to the house and have life changing experiences for the better, for God's kingdom.
Yeah.
And could that happen in a garage somewhere? Yeah, it sure could. But at this given moment,
Mhm.
He's like, all right, man, this is my will. I want you to do this. There is a little bit of mine and Christie's like, hey, well, we wanted to do this, right?
Mhm.
And so, I mean, you have to have the idea and the motivation to do it. But at the end of the day, if He doesn't want it to happen, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, that's the lovely thing of freedom of, the free will,
Yeah.
that he's blessed us with. But don't confuse that as, a free will to do anything and everything.
Yeah. Because you
I
can make
mean,
stupid decisions.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and if it, are you afraid that, oh, we've got this, we've got this potential, crash coming again.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, if you lived out of fear,
Then,
you're not, you've hit the stop sign. But
yeah.
he wants us to, uh, he doesn't want us to stop.
Yeah.
We're all made
That's
for
like,
more.
that's like living like the
Um,
way I was living younger, looking at like becoming a pilot. I was looking at that
mm,
brick wall saying, I just can't afford it. That's like you don't have to live with that brick wall. Um, which, I think that when you are building a, a business,
mhm,
you have a plan, you have a direction that you're going,
mhm.
and that whole idea of something making sense plays a huge role, whether you actually can sit there and say this is going to work or not. Because like when you're when you sign on that dotted line for this property,
Mhm.
um, you aren't making a a knee jerk reaction thing. This isn't like something that you've talked about this many times
Yeah.
before. So it's like
It's not impulsive for sure.
yeah, it's not impulsive. It's like like you're to the point. I think you and many other people that are out there probably listening too. Like whether if they're doing their due diligence on like planning and deciding when the right time to bite is. Like you did that. You've planned. You've thought about it. You and Christy talked about it.
Right.
Um, Depending on how deep you guys talked about it, whatever it is, you guys definitely just made the decision. This is something we're doing.
This is something that we're doing. We
Yep.
prayed for it. We prayed over it. And if it would have, if if we ultimately, if you don't, if it's not your will be done,
Mhm.
then, let us know.
Yeah.
And he will tell you, and there'll be signs of things that line up that just kind of fall in your lap. And you're like, wow, holy smokes. Like there's some conversations that we have had in the past, not between Christy and I, but then between us and like unrealistic conversations um, that we've had with, people in the past is like, that will never work. And then,
The
and
naysayer.
then they're like, or no, it's like
Oh,
like a contract or something that
yeah.
like me and this other individual, would have conversation, and I would go to them and say one thing, and then I would relay the message back to Christy, and Christy would be like, "Let me talk to him. Let me talk to him. Let me." I'm like, "I'll give you the number, but the person sounds like they're not budging,
Yeah.
like at all." She calls them up. Well, we take one day. Specifically, we take one day. We're like, listen, before we make this phone call, we close our eyes and we pray to God.
Yeah.
We're like, God, we need help here. Like we're trying to build your kingdom. If it is your will, your be done as on heaven as, in earth as in
Yeah.
heaven, you know. Um, and she'll pick up the phone and she'll right after we just get done praying, and she'll, we'll three-way phone call.
Yeah.
She will say ask the exact same questions I did,
Yeah.
talking about the same exact situation. Yeah, and then they reply, yeah, that'll be fine. We could do that.
No. Yeah.
I'm like, what did you do? I'm
Dude,
like,
who
I'm
knows?
like, what? It
My
just
gosh.
took prayer,
Mhm.
and I don't know, man. He wanted us to stop at that given moment and pray and ask him to let him know that, God, this is still your kingdom.
Yeah.
This is your house. This is your property. This is your money.
Is this what you
This
want me
is
to do?
exactly every bit of this is by the grace. Yeah, I have it because by the grace of your, you know, by the grace of God,
Yeah.
you know. And then my natural instinct as a human to doubt,
Mm-hmm.
you know, me naturally being the Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
learned about that this
Yeah.
weekend, yesterday at church, but,
He is risen, man.
he, and, the doubting Thomas was coming out of me, or, you know, and, you know, he wanted us to stop and pray. And then Christy three-wayed the conversation. And then it was like, we're talking, it is mind boggling how that happens, how that works out with the house itself specifically.
Yeah.
Um, there are things that have happened, um, that we were like, you know, we're not going to be able, like, the price, you know, it's always a haggle,
Yeah.
you know, on the price or what have you. They seem like really honest people and, individuals. Just another example of how are we going to make this work? You know, how are we going to make it a turnkey kind of situation?
Yeah.
Again, that kind of stuff falls in your lap. Um, I mean, I don't even know how much it is to furnish a home. Uh, I've furnished our home a little bit, you know, some stuff we just kind of accumulated over the years, but, um, yeah, we're like, how are we going to make this work?
Yeah.
And,
Furnishing it is interesting.
stop, pray, listen, and then act.
Yeah.
Stop, pray, listen, act. Um, and you know, with Scenic Stays, they not only came down off the price, but they've also agreed to sell it fully furnished.
Dude.
And it's
My
like,
gosh.
what the, you
Yeah.
know, it's like, okay, yeah, we love your decor, we love your furniture, we love how you have, we loved how you know, decorated it, and he knew that we needed a turnkey to be able to start allowing it to pay for
Yeah.
itself.
You know, the
And
previous owners were probably like, how are we going to get all this furniture out
they
here?
probably were, you know, but God knew that,
Yeah.
you know. And so, and you know, whenever we started talking about selling the property and to buy this property, um, we went on to Zillow, I think one afternoon.
Yeah.
Oh, no. It was midday. It was in the morning. Yeah, it was in the morning. And then we called the real estate agent up and we were like, "Hey, are you available? Like, we want to go look at this place." It was like, "Yeah, I'm available." So I looked at Christy and I was like, "Let's go look at it." You know? And she was like, "Today?" I'm like, "Why not? What else we got to do?" You know? If we go, we don't like it. What's the worst thing that can happen?
That's another
You
thing.
can just come home.
There's another. This is another thing that's unspoken about being a pilot. You take advantage of the time that you have.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So-
Because you only have before you have to go back out on the road again.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
Christy's probably sitting there thinking, I got XYZ to do before tomorrow. And you're like, well, I have XYZ to do before I'm
gone again.
Gone again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's been another, you know, kind of, that's been something that's I've been working on. I mean, not only that, but you know, I've got
Congratulations
tree
on
harvesting
that.
going, you know,
Yeah.
trying to get some tree harvesting going on, with, you know, with the house and then FedEx and then instructing. I'm working on becoming an examiner for the local area, you know, doing check rides and stuff for the local community here.
Yeah.
You just never, you know, you wake up in the morning, you know, do your devotion, um, completely submit and surrender, to God and say, "Hey, God, you might have given me these feet. Now you need to show me how to walk in them."
Yeah. We
You
are
know?
servants. So
You know, we are servants for, and this is where a lot of I'm not going to say a lot of entrepreneurs, but, um, those that have a lot going on and, you know, talking about, oh, you know, building your portfolio, well, that's a very self-centered aspect, because again, my opinion, and if there's any believers out there that's talking to you guys, but if there's no believer, if you're listening to this and you're not a believer, but this is not for you. The waking up in the morning and God, lead my feet where I go. I'm not doing it for my portfolio. I'm not doing it for my kingdom.
Yeah. And if you're not a believer, try saying it anyway.
I mean, yeah. And
give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a shot.
What do you got to lose?
Nothing at all.
Yep.
I mean, nothing at all. But for it is his kingdom. He's the only king that, again, celebrating Resurrection Day yesterday, Easter. He's the only king that has defeated the grave. All the other kings are still in the grave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So doing it and he knows that, and he knows that it's for his kingdom.
Yeah.
It's not for mine.
Dude.
So,
yeah. Well,
I don't have a kingdom. I'm just a servant.
We're all servants on this spaceship we call Earth. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I tell you, like, we were, we think a lot about what's going on, especially as human beings. Like, and for people who just aren't religious, that you have something that you are religious about, whether if it's religious about not being religious about your job, if you're religious about, whatever particular faith background that you follow, like, just remember one thing that no one can argue is we are here together.
Right.
And a lot of people on this earth is like, we are elbows to elbows, whether if there's 100 miles or 100,000 miles, whatever you're thinking, we're here together, and we need to keep it that way.
Right. Make it better.
So, and that's one of the things that, like, if my little hangout podcast gives anybody, I hope it allows folks to realize that whatever differences you might have, whatever belief structure, whatever opinion, whatever thought process that you've championed before, if you hear something that you agree with, cool. If you hear something you disagree with, man, I get it, cool. But I tell you what, keep yourself open, keep yourself willing to adjust, because spaceship Earth is a small space.
Oh,
it literally is a small place.
Yeah.
Take it from an airline pilot,
and it makes it even smaller.
Yeah.
I mean, it really makes it even smaller.
Yeah.
You leave, even the continents, you leave in the morning and you leave LA and you're, you leave West Coast and you're in the East Coast.
Yeah.
Before lunchtime.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It definitely makes the world a lot smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. So just remember, for folks that are listening out there, be kind, and remember that there are people in your shoes, whether if they look like your shoes or not. So everybody needs a helping hand, whether if they got it all together.
Right.
And just remember to be kind and, have grace and be thoughtful, because your bad day doesn't have to be somebody else's bad day.
Perspective, right?
Yeah.
Lens, not mirror.
Yep. Dude, I'm going to carry that with me forever now.
Right.
The lens, not the mirror.
There you go.
That's good. Well, that's a good stopping point. I want to thank Richard Faircloth for hanging out with me, man.
Anytime.
Yep. And
hopefully you'll have me again.
Dude, you can come on as much as you want.
See you tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good, dude. I'll have PB&Js ready for us. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so these podcasts are going to be coming out as they come out. So you probably are listening to this in May, and it's April right now. Pretty soon, we'll have a steady stream of guests come in, and look out for Pinbox production stuff in the future. As soon as we get a handle on this stuff, we're going to start doing some YouTube channels, some podcast for folks that are around us. And we're also doing professional looking Zoom calls. So if you need uh, any kind of, Zoom call to look professional, to look really, really nice, if you're a lawyer or a doctor and you're talking and you want to be professional, you can get a hold of us.
There you go.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.